Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and celebrate writers of the Midwest. I'm Luella Schmidt.
And I'm Ken Humphrey. Today's chapter break episode features Wade Walker and his latest publication, Night of the Pumpkin Man, which is a part of the codename Lone Wolf series. This is a Halloween special.
Wade Walker is the author of the codename Lone Wolf action horror spy series, blending classic pulp, supernatural suspense, and action thrills. His novels, Bite of the Wolf, Operation Frankenstein, and the newest release, the short story special Night of the Pumpkin Man, mix monsters, espionage, and dark humor in the spirit of Ian Fleming, hammer horror, and 1960s Euro spy cinema. He is also the author of the upcoming poetry collection, Dead Love Apocalyptic Pop Sonnets, releasing October 13th. True to the top secret subjects he writes about, he resides in an undisclosed location in the wilds of Wisconsin.
So let's take a look at Night of the Pumpkin Man. In the tiny hamlet of Gallows End, fearful whispers warn of the legendary Pumpkin Man and his harvest of death. Into this haunted village comes secret agent and werewolf Val West, codename LoneWolf, who discovers a legend and the fear behind it conceal a deadly truth. A barmaid with suspicions of her own becomes his lone ally in a mission where ever darker dangers lurk behind every shadow. Espionage and supernatural horror collide in a pulp Halloween special of claws, sickles, and sinister secrets. That's a lot of
Ooh, sounds
S.
yeah, sounds delightful. Wade, welcome to Midwest Writers Room. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you, and we're teeing this up just in time for the Halloween holiday because this seems to fall right in line with that theme. So, before we talk about the book itself, we'd love to go a little bit back on the authors and kind of ask you what led you into the horror genre. I mean, has it always been a favorite of yours, or what led you there?
Oh, it has. It always has. I would say that I'm in that last of the monster kid generation of the kids who grew up with the traditional monsters, the universal monsters, the hammer horror. It's something that I gravitated to at a young age. I think that helps because I had an uncle who was also very into that. So he was the bad influence who started showing me Dracula and Frankenstein movies as a boy, and I always became very fascinated with it. And then also I come at it from the comic book world as a big fan. So between that and also my James Bond fandom, I kind of put all that into a blender when I decided to come up with the Lone Wolf character.
Yeah, it's quite the combo. I mean, it's kind of cool when you think about it. So, in the tradition of the MCU and the universe that they created, there's always been rumors in Hollywood or attempts in Hollywood to create like a monster verse.
Hmm.
Um, how sad are you that that hasn't really come to fruition yet?
Well, I guess I'm a bit sad, but I'm also maybe not sad that because it could have turned out terrible. So some of the things that I had been reading about it weren't quite as promising as I had hoped. And truthfully, I'm a bigger fan of the older stuff. So whether they had gone through with it or not, I still have my 1940s Universal monsters, and I can remain happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's zero in on the book then. Um, can you tell us what's the genesis of this story? How did it come about?
So Night of the Pumpkin Man is a Halloween special. This is a short story, um, and it's the third entry in the Codename Lone Wolf series. So what I wanted to do with this in particular was I'm working on a third novel, and it won't be ready until next year. And in the meantime, I said I want to put out a Halloween special, just something that like you don't see it necessarily so much on television now, but you used to see Halloween specials airing in the month of October, whether it be It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or any of those types of seasonal specials. So I wanted to do a written form of that and create a Halloween special for Codename Lone Wolf and have it be Halloween themed. So that's where Night of the Pumpkin Man came along.
So is there any background to the actual legend of a pumpkin man that you heard, or did you just create that?
It's something that I have created actually many moons ago. I was in a band when I was in high school, and we had a song called "The Pumpkin Man" about this this creature, this pumpkin headed creature that comes around and stalks you. So I guess I resurrected him from that. But there's no real legend. But part of the goal in this story was to treat it like it was something that already existed.
Thank you. So, this is the third in a series. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the publication of the series? Like, have you Is it all part of the same group, or how is it structured?
Yeah, so in 2022, I published the first novel, Bite of the Wolf, which is it's the origin story, but I also wanted to stand alone as its own story. That's one thing that I found as a trend in a lot of things, particularly movies. You mentioned the MCU, which I think a lot of those superhero films are guilty of that, where they might do an origin or a prequel, and it's all about that. And it doesn't necessarily stand on its own. So I wanted this to do both. I wanted this to be a great story, but also tell his origin as it unfolded. And I think that I was able to achieve that. So that's Bite of the Wolf that came out in 2022. And then I followed that up in 2023 with Operation Frankenstein, where I went right into the new status quo, where he is now a full-fledged werewolf. He is employed by a secret agency, and he's on his first case outside of that, which happens to involve, as you might guess, the Frankenstein monster and Dr. Frankenstein. So I threw him right into the thick of it, and then so with the two novels finished, and then the third one coming up next year, which is called From Transylvania with Love, and you might be able to guess where that's going. I wanted to have that, like I said, I wanted to have something out for this Halloween, and the Halloween special. Doing it as a short story seemed the way to go, and I hadn't really dabbled that much in short stories, so this was a great opportunity to do that. And the spirit I went into it with was, can this be like an episode of a codename Lone Wolf television show if there was such a thing? So that's kind of the structure that I used for the story, and I found out I really loved working in the short fiction style, and I plan to do more of it.
So can I ask, before Luella dives into her next question, can I ask why werewolf for anything? I mean, why not a vampire or a mummy or some other of the monster creatures?
Yeah, well, I guess that's an interesting, question that I have thought about a little bit. It's like, yeah, maybe it would be more convenient for him if he was a vampire. But one of the original reasons that this came up with is I thought about in the movie the Wolf Man. We have Lon Chaney. He's just a guy who gets bit by a werewolf, and that's true of many werewolf stories. It's just a regular guy who gets bit by a werewolf, and his life goes badly after that. So I was thinking, well, what if he was not just a regular guy? So I was watching some older James Bond movies, and I happened to really like the Roger Moore Bonds, which is a style you don't see anymore, where this guy is very gentlemanly. He's not brooding, he's not dark, he's very refined. And I was thinking, well, what would happen if Roger Moore was bit by a werewolf? Who would he turn into? Probably Daniel Craig. But aside from that, it would be a conflict of his refinement and his gentlemanly ways as a cultured society infiltrating spy, to also be this savage werewolf and have to kind of deal with both sides of it. So I thought it made a nice contrast for him to have the beastly side versus the more refined, cultured side.
It does seem to fit nicely with a werewolf.
I think a vampire could pull it off, but I think he'd have an easier time. He's already swabbed by the stereotypical nature.
Sure. So, any struggles or notable moments as you were making your way through book 3 in the series?
Yeah, well, again, I think it was just the surprise of writing a short story, and in the differences between a short story and a novel, and trying to decide like how to plan it out. There's a lot of things like that I didn't really consider going in. I kind of just dove in head first, and I worked it out as I went along. And a part of that was just doing a lot of research, which means in the writer's world, it means doing a lot of reading, which is good research to have. So I read a lot of short stories. I kind of revisited some of the short stories that I really loved in the past. One of them, I would say, one of Wisconsin's finest, Robert Bloch, big influence. I went back and read a lot of his short stories to see how did he structure things, and that was so that was a big sort of surprise revelation in writing. This is just the differences involved in the craft of short story writing, and I really appreciated it once I went through the process.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be quite different. I mean, it's not just a shorter novel.
Yes, no, not at all. And yeah, I found that out, that it's not just saying, oh, here's even a section of a novel. It's its own animal.
Yeah.
About how long
Yeah.
did your story end up? How many words roughly?
It's somewhere around 12,000, which is actually pushing it into like novella territory or
Yeah.
novelette. I guess that would be the
Novelette. I just
novelette.
looked up, I was just learning words. The novel, I've heard of the novella forever, but novelette I had never heard of before.
Yeah,
And that is apparently like a designation by some, by awards givers. You know, they split up their awards in different categories. And I thought that was interesting. A novelette is kind of where you're at.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because I look up these word count designations, and there's a lot of variation on them. I mean, sometimes maybe I'm not in there, and maybe I am. Um, but I did actually aim for 30 pages because I did a print version, in that's what this is here in comic book format, a special limited edition print run. And by having it come out to 40 pages essentially in terms of word count, that didn't help me with the print run. If I had gone with 30 pages, it would have made things easier. But that's part of the learning process. And once I did go through it, I cut out a lot of things that just to tighten it up. But by virtue of the structure, I said, well, I guess I really did kind of go over a little bit on this, but it still all works.
Yeah. Sometimes the only way to learn is to try it, you know?
Yes.
So kudos to you.
And I think it would be hard to just say, well, no, this is 30 pages. You have to cut it off here. I mean, it could be done, but I didn't think it served the story to keep gutting it further just to make a sort of an arbitrary page count.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
story is a story, right? It's got to breathe, and it needs as many words as it is to
Mhm.
make it the story you want. All right, Luella, should we dive into the reading?
Yeah, Wade, whenever you're ready, we're ready for your reading and share with the listeners where you're going to begin, where within
Okay,
your book.
so again, this is from the limited edition, 60 copies only, but they're available at certain retailers as far as getting a physical copy goes. You could, if you're in Appleton, you stop in at Powerhouse Comics, or at Oshkosh, House of Heroes. They are carrying copies of this. So I will be reading from this right now. This section that I'm reading from is where, just to kind of give it a little bit of a catch up. Um, so Val West, agent codename Lone Wolf, has found himself in jail in this town of Gallows End, and the villains have decided that they decided they would like to tell him what they're going to be doing because they figure he won't be around to do anything about it. And as far as they know, he is just a meddling secret agent, and they're about to dispose of him. So, and as mentioned in your description, there's the barmaid, Trina Tassels, who has sort of been his lone ally, and so she's about to come into play here. All right, so we're going to pick up where the mayor, oh, spoiler, has revealed he's in on it, and he is going to start to wrap up his what you would say his master plan here, and then an interruption happens. Sneed's smile slithered. That, Mr. West, is why Hive will win. We don't just have a network of agents across the world. We now have a new ally, one we intend to bargain with. That's what Hive does. We make deals. This one may put us in control of more than nations, in fact, the whole world. The gloating was interrupted by a female voice. Trina had burst into the station in a whirlwind of panic. Sneed and Sheriff Traylor left the cell, slamming the door locked behind them, leaving West to enjoy his fiery pains all by himself. However, he had other plans. It was time for an early release. She smiled at him across the station, lips trembling but eyes steady, a signal of what was to come in the next few moments. She didn't usually do this sort of thing, more like never. He winked back through blood and sweat, the heavy stalks dragging on his neck, in a silent acknowledgement as he braced for his next move. Trina slammed her fist on the desk, knocking her purse to the floor. No, Sheriff, I want it written down, every word. Coins scattered one way, lipstick and feminine products another. The cell key ring went spinning off the edge. West braced against the wall, twisting his wrists inside the hinges. One pin was loose, just enough to give play. He could angle his hand just so. She bent to the floor quickly, the deputy's eyes on her ample cleavage, not noticing her fingertip nudging the keys closer to the bars. The stocks creaked as West forced his wrist, bone grinding. Every inch felt like he was tearing himself apart. Sweat slicked his chafed palm. The hinge gave a fraction more. Trina gave the still unnoticed keys another bump, hoping it would get them close enough, her light kick lingering for just a heartbeat. West gritted his teeth as his raw hand tore free from the wooden shackle. She leaned closer, closer to the cell, powered by her reckless urgency. His fingers slipped through the bars, hooking the ring. Her head turned slowly, eyes following. Their eyes met again. Neither said a word. She smiled. He winked. Click. With the quickest of twists, he shoved the cell door open with his free hand, his head and other wrists still yoked in the heavy stocks. Snapping the frame tight across Trina's throat, he hauled her against him in a rough improvisation of a hostage grab, her gasp selling the act. Hold your fire, Trailer barked, pistol raised. He won't make it far. West shuffled them across the cramped room. Trina kicked once, playing her part until they reached the evidence locker. In a blink, he shoved her free. His good hand wrenched the locker open, seizing the wolfskin belt inside. He looped it around his waist, hurriedly buckling it. Trailer's pistol fired, the bullet driving into West's back. He sprawled forward, fumbling the last clasp shut as he fell, the shock spinning his senses towards a rushing pool of blackout darkness. The body heaved against the bloodied stalks. Then the wood bent. Then it splintered. Then it burst. Sheriff Trailer staggered back, eyes wide. He'd seen this man go down, saw the slug tear clean through his back, but he didn't stay down. Instead, he writhed, shoulders snapping, bones shifting under the black suit that was now turning flame red. And then, by God, what kind of man is this? Or was it something sent by the devil himself? Fingers turned to claws, teeth jutted into fangs, and beastly golden eyes glinted with a hellish red gleam. The face that looked up at him wasn't West's any longer. Trailer fumbled for his pistol, hands shaking, utterly speechless. The thing crouched low, growling menacingly in the dim light. The man he was sure he'd killed was gone. In his place was something ready to kill. So there's a
nice
selection for you for today.
Very Halloween themed. All right.
Yeah, I really like the transformation in particular.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to write too, because it's it's something that is you want to have the transformations, you got to vary it up. So every time I got to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah, sure. Focus on a different part of it. So tell our listeners where they can find more about you and where they can find your book.
Well, the main hub is my website, which is www.codenamelonewolf.com. And you can also find my books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble is in the ebook form. They're available in Apple Books and all kinds of other platforms. But links to all those are on my website.
All right. And we'll post that in the show notes. Do you have any appearances lined up to coincide with the release of this?
Yes, and it may be quite a trek for some of the listeners, but on October 28th, I will be doing an author talk at the Crystal Falls District Public Library in Crystal Falls, Michigan, which is quite a ways north, I would imagine, for most WWA listeners. But yes, I'll be doing a top secret mission briefing there, so anyone who wants to make the journey is welcome to attend. Other than that, I'm just going to be making some more local radio appearances in my undisclosed location here.
And just a note to anybody who wants to make that trek, should you choose to accept your assignment, the instructions will explode in 5 seconds.
Yes, and that's a fair disclosure to give.
Yes. All right. Well, I want to take now to thank Wade for coming on to introducing everybody out there to Night of the Pumpkin Man. Check it out at Codename Lone Wolf, the website we have down on our links. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us in the Midwest Writers Room. I'm Ken Humphrey.
And I'm Luella Schmidt. Words ignite imaginations and spark change. Never underestimate the power of storytelling.
Midwest Writers Room is a production of the Wisconsin Writers Association. Writing and editing by Luella Schmidt and Ken Humphrey. Sound design and editing by Ken Humphrey. Music for the Midwest Writers Room was written by Michael Ramir C. For more information, please visit wiwrite.org/podcast. Thank you.